All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're unpacking the first harvest. And honestly, it's going to completely shift how you view wealth, scarcity, and our fundamental relationship with the natural world. If you've ever felt like you're just constantly chasing resources, or like there's never enough to go around, well, the concepts we're looking at today are going to challenge that mindset right from the ground up. This isn't your standard traditional economics. It's a profound philosophical shift. Let's see how a simple change in perspective can totally rewrite our understanding of true abundance.
We all grew up hearing that classic saying, money doesn't grow on trees, right? It's drilled into us since we were kids. But picture this, a lush garden at sunrise. You've got the crisp air, birds chirping, and the rhythmic sound of a shovel turning the dark earth. Here, we meet two figures, the mad philosopher and a visionary named Helios. Right out of the gate, the mad philosopher flips that old saying completely on its head. He's watching Helios work the soil and observes that nature itself is actually the first and greatest bank. No way, right? It's such a powerful opening thought because it forces us to immediately reconsider where value and wealth actually come from.
So moving into section 1, the root of abundance, and this idea that the earth is already full.
Helios introduces this foundational philosophy that absolutely shatters our modern anxieties about running out of things. He basically argues that if we want anything, it's already here. He points out that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Just think about the sheer magnitude of that statement for a second. We spend so much of our time worrying about future deficits, right? But he's saying abundance isn't some distant promise we have to wait around for. It's our current, everyday reality. Because the earth is alive and everything comes out of this metaphorical garden, the raw materials for absolutely any resource we could ever desire already exist. They're right beneath our feet, just waiting to be cultivated.
Which brings us to section 2, the myth of scarcity, or, as they put it, standing hungry in the field.
This sets up a truly fascinating paradox. I mean, how is it possible to feel such a deep sense of lack in a world of absolute plenty? Well, the mad philosopher lays out two totally different ways of walking through life. On one side, you have the average perspective. People walk past the sprawling orchard, they look at the trees, and they see nothing but leaves. They literally complain of hunger while standing right smack in the middle of a fertile, life-giving field. It's the ultimate tragic irony. But then you look at the other side. You have the visionary perspective, like Helios. Instead of just seeing barren leaves, he looks at that exact same orchard and sees a ledger of abundance. He understands what they call the practical garden. It's a fundamental difference in perception, and it really dictates whether you live in constant anxiety or quiet confidence.
Okay, let's look at section 3, the practical garden cycle, the process of wealth. Helios maps out this exact progression that most people completely miss when they're too busy complaining about scarcity. It's a clear, organic chain. Step 1, everything starts with the foundational soil, the earth. Then, step 2, that raw potential is planted and contained within the seed. Next, step 3, through time and patience, it blossoms into the fruit. And finally, step 4, it reaches man. It seems elegantly simple, right? Almost elementary, but it is deeply profound. It reminds us that value doesn't just spontaneously appear in our bank accounts out of thin air. There's a deliberate, inescapable order to how all things of value are actually produced. It really all boils down to this fundamental truth from Helios. Everything begins from the gardening. This whole metaphor shows us that true wealth creation isn't some magical, overnight event. It's not a lucky lottery ticket. It's a very natural, deliberate cycle of continuous growth. The real reason people are standing hungry in that field we talked about earlier, it's because they're completely ignoring the process. They want to skip straight to the harvest. They want step 4. They want the fruit without ever participating in steps 1, 2, and 3. Basically, they want the reward without ever tending to the soil.
Now let's jump into section 4, money as an entry card. We are completely redefining currency here.
This is where the entire paradigm shifts, and it's a real game changer. Instead of being the ultimate goal of our lives, Helios redefines money as simply an entry card. It is not the wealth itself. I mean, think about how liberating that is. The paper in your wallet, the glowing numbers on your banking app, that's just a ticket. It's a ticket that lets you into the warehouse of abundance. It's just a tool to participate in that natural cycle of earth, seed, fruit, and man. When you finally stop viewing money as the absolute end goal and start seeing it as nothing more than an access tool, your whole economic philosophy, and honestly, your relationship with stress, completely transforms.
The mad philosopher really brings this home, stating if you understand the soil, you understand the system. Since the currency itself isn't the true wealth, understanding the soil is literally the only way to grasp the vast economic system we live in. The soil is where the actual production happens, right? It's the origin point of all tangible value. If you're only focusing on accumulating those entry cards, the money, you're agonizing over the symptom, not the source. Mastering the soil and mastering the actual creation of value from the ground up, well, that's the real secret to thriving within the system.
Moving to our final part, Section 5, The Mind That Plants, Harvesting Your Wealth.
Ultimately, this all comes down to a highly practical, totally uncompromising truth from Helios. If you don't plant, you don't eat. It's a pretty stark reminder of our own responsibility. If you don't actively participate in this cycle, if you refuse to get your hands dirty in the soil of your own endeavors and projects, you're always going to look around and mistakenly think you're lacking. But he follows that up with this beautiful promise: money grows and treats those who know how to garden. If you take the time to learn the process and respect that natural cycle of growth, the entry cards, the resources, all that abundance, it's going to naturally follow as a byproduct of your planting.
To bring this all together for today's explainer, let's lock in these core pillars. We have to remember that nature itself is a bank, and it's richer than any vault we've ever built. We need to genuinely understand that the earth is already full of abundance, just waiting to be tapped. True wealth, it's a natural, deliberate process, not some sudden accident. We absolutely have to redefine money as just an entry card to this ongoing cycle. And finally, we need to realize that in a world so incredibly overflowing with resources, the only real deficit is a lack of action.
Which brings me to a final, profound thought to leave you with today. If the earth is truly full, and the ledger of abundance is genuinely open to everyone, the only thing empty is the mind that refuses to plant. So I have to ask you, look closely at your own life, your goals, your resources. Are you out there digging and planting your seeds, or are you just standing hungry in the middle of the field, complaining about the leaves? Think about that for a bit. Catch you in the next explainer.